Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Thursday, the 25th of May. Robert Murray McShane's reading scheme has us finishing Psalm 78 today. And in it, the psalmist Asaph continues recounting the history of Israel. And he just notices how often they turned away from God and did what God had told them not to do and abandoned his covenant, to the extent that he says that God ultimately abandoned the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent he set up among men. He sent the ark of his might into captivity, his splendor into the hands of the enemy. And he recounts how the Israelites were given over to the surrounding nations and suffered as a result of it. But then God almost woke up and acted and got involved again, and he raised up a leader. We're told he chose David, his servant, and took him from the sheep pens. From tending the sheep, he brought him to be the shepherd of his people, Jacob, of Israel, his inheritance. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, with skillful hands he led them. And so he sees how God had raised up David to lead his people at a time when they needed it. And as I read that, I thought it'd be really helpful for us as Christians to be able to look back on our lives and look back on the history of the church and have a sense of what God is doing over time. In the moment, we often can't see it. But when you look back with hindsight, you can see God active in life. And I found that in my personal life time and again. Things happen and you wonder what's going on and should this be, and surely if God wanted me to do his will, I'd be somewhere else and this wouldn't be happening to me. And then years later, I'm a slow learner, decades later, look back and see God's hand and God's purpose and God's work in that situation. And so what the psalmist has us recognize is that God is present, God is working, God is doing his will in our lives and in amongst the people of the church and in the world. We just don't see it. And my prayer is that we would catch a glimpse of it and that would encourage us, that we'd be able to say, yes, irrespective of what we see around us, irrespective of what is going on, God is still present. God is still working. God is still in control. And sometimes we just have to hang on to that truth, even when it's not obvious to us, and just believe that one day, and maybe, as I've said before, it'll be when we step into his presence in glory and we can see our lives and the earth from a heavenly perspective, suddenly it'll all make sense. Until that point, we really have no clue of what is going on. And so an encouragement to look at life and just try and discern God's hand in all things, the good and the bad, and the times of where we can clearly see God's blessing and the times when we've struggled. And even when we can't see it, we hang on to that truth by faith. God is with us. He is in control. We are safe and we are blessed.